Hello my friends, this is Gabriel with the Last Huntsman channel here, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the LT Wright GNS. This is probably one of the, I would say LT Wright makes some of the finest handcrafted knives, and so today I'm going to be glad to do a review on this knife. I'm going to be pulling in video from a winter camping video that I did a while, hell, almost a year ago now, and be showing some of the stuff that I did out in the winter. Hell, I can't even talk. I'm going to be showing some of the stuff that I did with it out there, and I'm going to be doing some stuff today just to have an update on what this knife is capable of doing and why you might potentially want to get one of these. First of all, I'm going to say, just as you can tell, the handles are just damn near perfect. There's no ridge lines, there's nothing sticking out. They're perfectly smoothed out, and hell, this thing is just pretty looking to look at. This is definitely not like a, you know, typical Tops or Becker SE or something like that. This is something that you can get and potentially hand it down to your grandchild and they'll use it for a lifetime. But let's get started and let's test out the LT Wright GNS. Alright, so first of all, I figured I'd go over the specs. The model that I got came with a leather pouch style sheath. Obviously went through and wet formed mine. Pretty simple to do. The overall length is 9.5 inches. The sharpened edge is 4.25 inches. The steel is 01 tool steel. This particular model has a saber grind, which I personally prefer over a Scandi, and it has the natural micarta handle scales on it, though you can get different colors of micarta and even like desert ironwood and all kinds of other fancy handles. It has a sharpened 90-degree spine on it, which I will be showing off in the video. Alright, so one of the first tasks I'm going to do with the LT Wright GNS here is I'm going to process some wood. Everybody's favorite little thing here, batoning. I'm just going to baton up some wood so I have some smaller stuff to work with here. Try not to get it into the ground. Just see how small kindling I can make here. Now let's try a more fuller piece here. Should be enough to play with though. But yeah, for such a thin little 1/8 inch thick knife, and I'm not sure if I mentioned that in the specs, but it is 1/8 inch thick. But yeah, for such a thin knife, it does baton fairly decent. Another task I'm going to do with the GNS here, I'm going to try to make some feather sticks. Now, if I don't do the best, it's not because of the knife, it's just I kind of suck at doing this, to be honest. But give it a go here. to note while doing this too is just how comfortable the handle is. And I know a lot of guys emphasize that with LT Wright knives, but they're not joking. I'll give them full credit. The handles are very comfortable to use this knife with, and especially when you're just grabbing it real hard and bearing down on it. It doesn't really bother your hands at all. But it's a pretty good little feather bundle there. Let's see what else we can do with this knife. Alright, another little quick thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to make some notches. Just bear down in there. Cut it out here. It's kind of like a one notch here. I'll try to do a square notch here. Another notch I'm going to try is a square notch, so it's kind of hard to bear down on this because it's a hardwood, but I'll get it done. So, pretty good little square notch. Yeah, the LT Wright GNS can get it done. So another thing I can do with this knife here is just make a quick little stake here if I need to. And it just glides right through that wood. Pointy. Another thing I'm going to do is just see how well this 90-degree spine will get a little fire started. I'm not going to get some big fire going, but just kind of pretty good, especially with a 6-inch ferro rod. 6-inch ferro rod makes the 90-degree spine all the better. I know you can get tiny little ferro rods, but I would highly suggest getting a 6-inch ferro rod and a deer antler end on it that I put on myself. Makes it really awesome. Yeah, as far as striking a ferro rod goes, the LT Wright is bar none one of the better 90-degree spines that I've ever seen on a knife. I know Bark River has some that has a 90-degree spine. I know a few others, but LT Wright thus far is the best one that I've ever tested. Another quick test I'm going to do with the LT Wright GNS here is just some delimbing here. These are a little... It's pretty quick handiwork. I would say if it was a little thicker, like 30 seconds, that it would probably been able to chop through some of those little thicker ones a little better, but still gets the job done. Alright, so quick little test I'm going to do with the GNS here is I'm going to just do quick little tip testing. No, I'm not going to get ridiculous, and some people might be like, well, that's abuse of the knife. Well, here's my thoughts. If you're going to spend $150 on an 01 tool steel handmade knife, it better be able to take a little bit of abuse. So I'm not going to get ridiculous, but holds pretty straight. And even after all the testing that I've done, the edge is still really good. A little bit of goober mess there. Another quick little test I'm going to do. I'm going to de-limb and cut off a bigger limb. Obviously this isn't a chopper, but with a baton I can chip away at it, so I'm going to give it a try. Don't gotta cut all the way through when at about 90%. There we go. LT Wright GNS can get it done. This is, well, obviously quite a bit bigger than what a thin knife like this can chop through, but with a baton it can be done. Alright, so the LT Wright GNS obviously is a bushcraft knife, so it's what made for crafting, right? So one thing I'm going to try to make here, I've never really made one of these, is what a lot of people call this a frog or fish spear here. So I've seen how these are done, but bear with me because I've never made one. So now I got my main split here. Break these off or I don't even have to mess with them. Clean this up real quick and then we'll get to whittling. I'm sure this isn't the best way to make one of these things, but like I said, I've never really made one of these or cared to. Probably not the best frog spear in the world, but you know what? Screw it. Give it a go, right? I don't claim to be an expert bushcrafter anyways, but besides the point, you got the gist of it that you can make one with the LT Wright GNS. So let's go on to the next thing here. Alright, so the last and final thing I'm going to talk about with the LT Wright GNS, I'm going to start doing this with other knives too. I'm going to go over some competitive options here. And obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is the Genesis. And I'm not going to do a huge breakdown right now on pros and cons between these two, because I plan on doing a video of them both and reviewing them both. But some other more mainline models that's potentially a lot cheaper too, like the SE4 HM, the Tops Baja 4.5, which I personally like that it's 5/32 instead of 3/16 like those two. Even the classic and one of my favorites, SE4. And of course you can even possibly throw in the Tops Cut 4.0, which I plan on doing a review on. But all of these would make excellent little bushcraft knives if that's what you're wanting. These three here obviously gonna be cheaper, but these two has, well, magnificent handles on them, and they are handmade and much higher quality steel than what these three are. But those are just some competitive options. Let's wrap up this video. Well, my friends, my overall impressions of the LT Wright GNS, especially with the saber grind, is it's awesome. Especially if you're an outdoorsman, a hunter, or someone who likes to skin. Maybe you do fine wood crafting and fiddlesticks and feather sticks and light batoning and stuff like that, or just want a small camp knife. This thing's going to be awesome. The 01 tool steel is a lot better than some of the mainline 1095 steels that you'll find. The leather sheath, I personally kind of like it, especially once you wet mold it. It's literally like Kydex almost at that point. But would I suggest this knife? Hell yeah, I would. And this is definitely in one of my top picks anymore. But with all that being said, my friends, be prepared, both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.